Hi, this is an interesting podcast. It's an interesting conversation because we're talking about what it means to find your alpha. Who is an alpha? What constitutes an alpha? And why you think you're an alpha? And so I've got an interesting person sitting beside me today. Her name is Adeola Kingsley James. She's a hypnotherapist, a trained hypnotherapist.
Yes.
I think she's in training to be a clinical psychologist. I'm not sure. But she is very much in touch with the world, the universe, the spirits, and in tune with herself and her creativity and her spirituality.
And my alpha.
And her alpha. And so, Adela, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and
Thank
Find
you.
Your Alpha. Thanks for joining me here.
Thank you for having me.
What does being an alpha mean to you? And do you even like the word alpha to start with?
It sounds powerful, and so anything that sounds powerful is something that I definitely want to connect with. And the power is not from anything external. Mm-hmm. The power is from everything internal, right? It's connecting with my heart and knowing that I'm okay just the way I am. So when I hear alpha, I hear authenticity. When I hear alpha, I hear vulnerability. When I hear alpha, I hear my higher self. When I hear alpha, I hear the warrior that is within me, but I also hear the magician that is within me. And then I hear the queen that is within me and king that is within me.
Right.
And so I can go on and on about what I hear when I hear alpha, because nothing means anything than the meaning you give to things.
To it.
And so I'm giving the meaning of alpha to be power.
Awesome. So you talk about vulnerability when you hear alpha. And
Yes.
I mean, you said alpha is such a powerful word. And at the same time, people don't, they don't combine alpha and vulnerable in the same sentence.
I know.
It's usually alpha and strong and opinionated and fierce and fearless, And so why is that vulnerability so important as part of your journey to, being an alpha or even becoming an alpha?
See, vulnerability is one of the strengths that you can ever have or possess. Because from my vulnerability, I can tell you my truth. A lot of people have thyroid issues and neck and throat cancers because they're not able to speak their truth. And in vulnerability, you're able to speak your truth. I can tell you with love that please don't speak to me that way. And the reason why I ask you not to speak to me that way is because I'm a recovering anxious person. At some point in my life, I felt so afraid when people would leave me because I felt very lonely as a child. And because of that, when I was able to heal the anxiety, I'm now able to tell people that, when I send you messages, is it okay for you to respond to me and tell me for the next 5 days I'm unavailable rather than ignoring me? That was me sharing my vulnerability. But guess what? It also shared my boundaries, and it also shared how I want to be treated.
Right.
So for me, that vulnerability is a huge place of power. And then it connects my soul to your soul. It says, you're not alone, right? And everything that I've been through, you most likely have been through it in a different kind of way, right? With your own experiences, but our hearts are connected.
And connected.
Yes.
Look, she talks about being a magician. And you can see by the way she's dressed that she kind of is a little bit of a magician. I said she's a hypnotherapist.
I am.
And it took you a while to get to this point,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean, I know a little bit about your personal story.
Yeah.
And your journey even as a creative person.
Yes.
And so, Sony's all about connecting creativity, connecting emotion, connecting people who are in the creative space. And I want to ask, in relation to how you express your creativity, whether it's in production, filmmaking, TV production, whatever it is, how you express your creativity, how does your journey to being an alpha, how do those two relate?
So first of all, I personally believe that there's a place of creativity, but that place comes from power and comes from the strength that you have. You cannot give from an empty well, and a lot of us are empty, right? Because we don't know what we want, but we also don't know that for you to be so creative, it must come from a place of power and from a place of stillness and from a place of within. Van Gogh says, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream. Right? That's from a place of within, isn't
Wait,
it?
say that again.
I dream my painting and then I paint my dreams.
Okay.
Right? So that for me is the most powerful part of creativity, is by going within and saying, what does my soul really want right now? What do people need? So with what I do, I'm looking at, okay, so when I'm going to speak to people, what do people really need to hear right now that they're dealing with maybe a frustration or a fear, and maybe there's a hidden desire underneath it for what they really want, even if they might not know in totality. But how can I help them draw that thing that is within them? Because what they have told us is that everything you're looking for is on the outside.
It's on the outside.
Yes. So we're now hustlers. If you hear people, I'm hustling, and they think it's a great thing. And I say to people, I don't hustle. Everything I do is from a place of ease and grace, right? But people don't know that. They think it's just like if you're in the marketplace and they were shouting your name, would you hear it?
Probably
But they're
not.
shouting your name. Right? And that's what happens with creativity. It's subtle with God, because God is creativity. And so God they ascribe him to a still small voice. You cannot hear a still small voice, in the marketplace. It's impossible. You've got to be in a place of stillness. So what happens to me sometimes when I'm in the shower, because water does a lot to your creativity as well, and people don't know that, right? And so you're in the shower and I get an idea to something or an answer to a question that I had at some point, and I'm like, that's it. Or you're sitting down on your bed in your quiet times, and that's why your best dreams come when you're sleeping, right? So for me, I want to be able to connect. What?
I was going to say, some people, nightmares.
Yes, well, but the whole idea is to always connect to that place of peace so that beauty can come out of it. Yes.
So I want to talk about, the journey to finding your alpha.
Yeah.
So even knowing that you're an alpha to start with. You're talking a lot about the internal work that goes into it.
Yeah.
And the internalization before the externalization.
Yes.
And I think it's so important for creatives to understand that, for them to be able to express themselves as creatively as they're supposed to, they've got to know who they are first.
Absolutely.
So you can't know that you're alpha if you don't know you're alpha.
And everybody's alpha will be different.
Granted.
Yes.
Granted.
Because I can create a different kind of alpha, and you can too, and our alphas can connect. Yes. And so for creative people, we need to understand that hustle and bustle is not where we find power, right? Also, one other thing that I think is lacking is that, because they've taught us that our career, because our careers lead to finance, right? And it's tangible. So you can see the MSc, BSc, you can see I always add AIDS and STDs. You can see all those titles because we're very title oriented, we're very title oriented, right? So we can see all those things and we're thinking, okay, these things is what really, but those things might be tangible. However, what rules that part to be the best is three other parts, which is your health and wellness, your spirituality, and your relationships. And when I talk about relationships, yes, we can talk about platonic relationships, but your emotional relationships have the power to ruin you.
Can make or break you.
But also have the power to uplift you, right? And so we find ourselves, because we feel less than enough, and most of us do that. Religion already tells us that we need to keep fighting for God's love, for him to even look at us one way to say, okay, by my grace, I dash you. But then we are still chasing. So we've come already feeling worthless, even to God.
So how can you now feel worthy to your next human being?
And then we're only praising God, but who praises you? When God inhabits in your praises, what do you think will happen when you start praising yourself? Right? So there's a lot of that is so missing, because everything is on the outside. And that's why I always go back to the inside, because you cannot give from an empty cup. And the truth also is, what doesn't get transformed gets transferred. So if you don't transform the hurt and the pain and the anger and the
You will
dysfunction,
transfer
you will
it to the next
transfer,
person.
and the next person will transfer it to the
transfer it
next,
to the next
and it
person.
becomes a horrible village for everybody. But imagine if it was love that you transferred, or alpha that you transferred,
What
and that
doesn't
alpha
get transformed
gets
transferred.
Yes.
In recent times, I've been having conversations with all different creative people, and one of the things that has been recurring in our conversation is that you can't grow more than you know. I mean, aside from the lines that we know, which is energy grows where
Where
energy
energy
goes,
goes.
but you can't grow more than you know. In another form of it saying, you can't give from an empty cup. You can't give more than you have the capacity, more than you have,
You can
developed the
try.
capacity for.
You can try, but you die trying, or you try dying. Either or.
You
Somebody.
Okay. So as someone who is so in tune with her creative energy, because I think that's really, that's the
alpha.
core.
Yes.
That's the core in a lot of us. For someone who is so in tune with her creative energy, what's your word? What's your word, or what are the words? What are the things that sort of drive you as a creative person, as a creative being, in expressing the alpha that's in you?
I'll first go to vulnerability again, speaking from my soul, and maybe because I'm a hypnotherapist, I speak from here, right? Because I feel like, there's something that resonates from my deep core, right? So vulnerability is very big for me, because I can come and say, look, I don't know this thing. Teach me, right? Or this thing that you are doing, I like it. Teach me, right? So it's collaborative rather than complaining or criticizing. So I focus only on positive things and positive energy. How can we collaborate to do things better? How can I add to you whilst you add to me? So iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron,
as they say, right?
Yes.
So I'm always looking for how we can. One of my slogans is always leave people with a sense of increase, right? I always want to be able to deposit something that you can take away in your life and use it effectively and get good results out of it. So for me, I think from that creative process, I always want to be able to birth something fresh in you, because I call myself a lighthouse. I lead people safely to their destination.
Awesome. Vulnerability, be a lighthouse.
Yes.
Speak from your core.
Yes.
Speak your truth. But there's something that you also said as well, which was collaborative.
Yes.
And I think that there is so much power in collaboration. And we're going to talk about this a little bit deeper with a few other guests over the course of this podcast.
The Bible says one will take down 1,000.
And two.
See the difference from 1,000 to 10,000.
Yeah.
However, you can collaborate also with the wrong people.
Yes.
So always connect. Make sure that your energies connect.
Like minds.
Like
visions.
Like
values.
Exactly.
Like desires.
So you got that
awesome,
right. And we're going the same way. You get it?
Yes. We're going in the same
it's not like
direction.
We're going, I mean, we can start from here.
It's not a Y branch.
So it can start from here, but it's going this way. So you're forming a perfect triangle. Rather than this, and then you're going this way, which is octagon. By the time you know it, you're in a polyamorous relationship. Thank you.
Well, it has been absolutely amazing speaking with you on this podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Adeola Kingsley James, specialist, magician, creative being, creative energy, speaks from her core, and a true alpha. Thank you.
Thank you.